get started. Thank you, Raphael. So maybe we give them 1 more minute at the switch rooms.
Hi, Victor.
Hello, Caleb. I'm here with Emmanuel, the chair of the Rwanda chapter. Emmanuel, you want to say hello before we start? Hi, Caleb. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hi, Emmanuel. It's good to see you. And hi, Victor. I look forward to seeing you all in Rwanda in 2-3 days from now.
Perfect.
Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi.
This is Esther.
And we are here in the computer center. You can see kids using the computer center that the chapter set up here at the high school.
Well done.
good.
Well done, Victor.
Excellent.
Well done, Emmanuel.
Excellent work.
It's well done, Emmanuel. Okay, thank you so much.
Good
All
to
right,
see
I think we are
good
5 minutes.
to see Victor.
Past.
Good to see Victor.
Thank you, Awi. Thank you, everyone.
Some people are already in Rwanda. Wow.
So let's get started. Thank you again, everyone, for joining the amazing Community Day session. It has been really great listening to all the amazing and inspiring discussions and experiences, and more importantly, opportunity to build, promote, and defend the internet. And now it is time for us to think long-term, to look at the future. And that's why I'm thanking you now to join this open forum with our Board of Trustees on the framework of the Internet Society 2030 strategy. This is our organization strategy, strategic focus and priority for the next 5 years. So this session is in line with our Board of Trustees tradition of openness. And that's in the past, the board used to organize open forum. And this is just in line with that tradition on allowing the community to be heard and also consider their opinion in shaping the future of the organization, of the Internet Society, this organization that we all care dearly about. So now please join me in welcoming the chair of our Board of Trustees, Hardie.
Sorry. Thank you, Victor. Sorry to interrupt everyone. Just we have to set up interpretation, and at the moment, I have no. It's on, so you will all be able to select your channel to hear a specific language. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raphael, and thank you.
Thank you, Raphael. Is that all set up now?
I think she
so,
said yes.
colleague, if your preferred language is French or Arabic, you can just select the language that is appropriate for you. And thank you again, Raphael. So as I was saying, I was just inviting you and thank you all again for joining this important session on the future of organization for the next 5 years. So join me in welcoming Ted Hardie, the chair of the Internet Society Board of Trustees, and Andrew Sullivan, our president and CEO. So Ted is going to give some introductory remarks before inviting Andrew to give an overview of our 2030 strategy framework. So thank you again all for joining this session. Over to you, Ted.
Thank you very much, Victor, for the welcome, and thanks to everybody for your participation in today's activities. I was able to catch a little bit of the previous session, and thank you to my colleagues Caleb and Olafunke for their work as moderators, and to all the participants who shared their vision for resilience in the African and Middle Eastern regions, and in particular the discussion of how each of the different countries was approaching some of the challenges. A great session. I'm very appreciative of the time and work people put into making it. For this session, I'm joined by Caleb and Olafunke again, as well as Barry Liba, Brian Haberman, and Charles Mock, other members of the Board of Trustees. We're here to talk to you a little bit about the Board of Trustees strategy, and to make sure that we have a chance to interact with you, the members of the community, on the upcoming 2025 through 2030 strategy. This is sort of the closing end of a cycle. We sent out a set of consultations in the last quarter of last year with requests for discussion of some global challenges and proposals for the strategy. We took those along with input from the senior staff and some additional discussions from within the board in order to craft the strategy, which is built around those global challenges and the responses that the Internet Society will take to them. At the heart of it all is really our ongoing mission that the Internet is for everyone, and to try and make sure that the Internet that they have is secure and appropriate for the uses that they need to make of it. And as a last point before we turn it over to Andrew to kind of walk us through that, we do expect this to be an ongoing process, right? We're setting what the strategy is, but we all understand the last 5 years have thrown some curveballs at us, and we are ready in the case that there needs to be evolution of the strategy during these 5 years, that's still possible. This isn't set in stone. It's the starting point from which we'll make the action plans, and those action plans on a year-by-year basis will react to conditions on the ground. And with that, I'm going to ask my colleague, Andrew, to give a quick presentation of it before we open it for questions. Andrew?
Thanks, Ted. And yeah, I'm going to try to be very, very brief here today, to the point where some of you may feel it's a little too short, but that's the reason we have all of the question opportunities that we do. So we go through this multi-year strategy effort, you know, on a periodic basis. Somebody's on an open mic. Please mute. Thanks. So what we do is we try to build multi-year strategies, but they're very high-level strategies. And these are, of course, appropriately from our board. The board gives the organization the direction that the overall direction that we're supposed to go in, and so that's why this is really a board document, and it's now up to the staff to implement it. Next slide, please. Now, this strategy is organized basically according to 3 basic elements. There's the challenges. These are the most pressing issues happening in the world that will confront our mission over the next 5 years. So our mission is not changing. The mission stays the same, and what we have to do is say, okay, well, we've got some issues. How are they going to confront our mission? Then, in response to that, we come up with some strategic goals. These are our responses to the global challenges, and we're, the aim, of course, is that these will improve the lives of people everywhere. And then finally, there are these transformations. These are the operational actions needed to achieve those strategic goals. So these are the actual things that the organization needs to go through. Also, of course, part of this is to make sure that we remain sustainable as an organization. Next slide, please. So the first of these is these global challenges. And when the board met to discuss all of this, there were 2 very large overarching issues that seemed to be confronting us. Lots of different issues fall under these 2 categories, but these were the large overarching ones that the board felt or seemed to feel were the ones that we're going to be pressing. First of all, global inequality, and you can scan this any way you like. And then similarly, a lack of trust in the internet. So people no longer trust the internet the way they once did. Now that we have those global challenges, we move on to the strategic goals. Next, please. So the first strategic goal is this very high level statement. People everywhere have access to affordable, reliable, and resilient internet. And you can see that underneath this, we have some specific things that we're trying to do, like we will reduce barriers to internet access. We will empower communities to build and defend the internet. We will defend the open, interoperable internet. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I presume you can all read the thing that's on the screen, but you can see what how this breaks down. Similarly, there was a second strategic goal that people everywhere have an internet experience that is safe, secure, and protects them online. So this is where all of the protection issues come in, and all of the issues that continue to vex us on the internet with respect to safety and security. We'll vigorously defend against decisions that weaken online security. We're going to advocate for policy and commercial decisions and so on that put safety and security first. And we're going to empower people to make the safe choices to protect themselves online. These are, high-level items that fall under these bullets or under these strategic goals. They're not, of course, the only things that would necessarily fit under those strategic goals, but these are ones that we're committing to tackle. So from that, we move on to these transformations. And these transformations are things that the organization needs to do in order to deliver on those strategic goals. So we have to deliver powerful advocacy and cultivation of the future internet leaders. We need impactful giving. The Internet Society is a charity, and we need to continue to figure out both how the philanthropy function has a high impact in making sure the internet is for everyone, but also how we make sure that people are willing to give to the Internet Society to support it. And that would lead to our financial health and sustainability and so forth. As an organization, we need to make sure we have strong ethics and governance, but we also need a recognized global brand. We're not very well known outside our community, and that leads to some difficulty when we're trying to lead some of these conversations. Obviously, we need a talented workforce that we're very proud of, but we'll continue to develop that. We need just as much an inspired and mobilized global community. That's of course all of you and many more in the community. We really need that in order to work together, because of course we don't have the kinds of resources that giant centralized bureaucracies very often do. And finally, we have to make our decisions in a proper way, and that requires a data-driven decision making. So that is another way in which the organization needs to transform itself. So those are the ones that we've currently got on the list for transformations that the organization needs. Next, please. I think that gets us to the end. So thank you very much. I hope this very, very high level overview gives you enough to inspire you to ask questions and so forth. I know we do have some questions that have already been sent. So at least some people had some questions on the basis of the materials that they've already seen. But obviously, I think the floor will be open. So I'm going to hand it back to Ted.
Thank you very much. I will open the floor now. There was one or two questions sent in advance, and I wanted to start with them while people are formulating their questions live here. If you would like to pose a question, please raise your hand in the Zoom tool and we'll call on you. The first of these was originally in French, but I'm going to read the English translation. What is about the protection of private data on the African coast, and also about facilitating the opening of data in public institutions until 2030? So I think this really, if I understand the question correctly, is reading on our second goal for the upcoming cycle, because that's really looking at security and public safety and their interplay. And I think one of the things we have to recognize is that in many, many situations, what we're trying to do is to make sure that the communications across the internet are as secure as possible. And the efforts that the Internet Society has made historically around encryption, like the recent encryption day of last year, I anticipate will be carried forward in the new strategy, because those provide both the data integrity and the data privacy that help people feel confident about doing things like banking or even communications like this across the internet, knowing that the chances that it's been interfered with is small. There are public safety concerns, and that is something that it's part of the dialogue we have with the broader community. What we have to make sure is that those concerns are treated in a balanced way against the common everyday uses of the internet, and that people who have concerns about what are aspects of the internet that they don't wish to have continue are dealt with in ways that don't impact the internet as a whole, so that we see proportional responses to the kinds of work that the public safety implies. The next question was about how to be inclusive, and when are all the chapters at the rejuvenation stage going to be activated? And so this is an ongoing process. It's not kind of at one moment all of them come back. Each chapter is rejuvenated according to the process that goes forward specific to that chapter. So there won't be a specific day. Although at each of the board meetings, we do welcome back any chapters who have been rejuvenated, in addition to welcoming any chapters which have been created since the last board meeting. But that's really just a moment of recognition where the processes are ongoing and at the pace that's specific to the chapter. The last question is, what are the key focus areas of the Internet Society 2030 strategy, and how does the Internet Society plan to address emerging issues such as digital inclusion and cybersecurity? And I think you just heard from Andrew some of how that's going to happen, what we see as sort of the sub-bullet points to each of the major points where that's going to take place. And a follow-on question to that as part of this was, how will the Internet Society collaborate with other stakeholders to achieve its goal? And I think that's a great question. And I think as we go through the action plan, each part of the action plan will have to identify how it works with the multi-stakeholder community, and indeed how it works across the society. Because it's very important to recognize that although some of the transformations are specific to the staff organization, the work of the Internet Society takes place not just through the staff organization, but through the chapters, through the OMAC members, through the IETF, and through the community that we're a part of. And so we want to make sure that everybody understands that we don't think the Internet Society staff organization is big enough to do this all by itself. As Andrew has pointed out on many occasions, in some cases, we're arguing against people who literally print money. And that's pretty hard to do on our resources. And so we do need the community as a whole to join with us, both within the Internet Society's community and in the broader set of allies in the multi-stakeholder community. So I think at this point, I'm going to look to see if there is any questions in the Q&A feature, because that's a part of it. I don't see any, but I'm not sure that I'm looking at the tool quite right, because it asked me to add a question rather than to read them. So I believe our liaison, Lauren, is watching the Q&A feature. Lauren, were there any things in the Q&A?
Hi, Ted. It looks like we do have one question, and I'll just read it out. What are new transformations in Internet Society program work? Is it universally or specific?
Andrew, can you put the transformations back up? Were you sharing them?
Well, I can't because Lauren was displaying them, but I think the important thing to understand in response to this is that it's not especially about programs. This is really about organizational transformation. So it's things that the organization needs to be able to do. If you look at these transformations, you'll see that oh, we've gone one too far, I think. You'll see that these are capabilities. Now, obviously, any one of these capabilities could be more applicable or less applicable in any given program. It's not like this is a universal thing. Obviously, powerful advocacy, less of an issue for some of our work than for others. When we're doing advocacy, it needs to be powerful. When we're helping people connect their community network, we're not doing the policy work for that, but we're actually helping people, to learn how to run cables. Powerful advocacy doesn't apply as much to that. So there are ways in which these link up to particular programs. But on the whole, these are things the organization needs to be able to do. I hope that makes some sense.
It did, and let me just add that, again, this is not necessarily entirely a staff organization thing. Some aspects of these are, but the cultivation of future internet leaders, there are definitely programs within the ISOC staff organization to do that, but it's also something that any part of ISOC can help do. By sharing your knowledge and understanding with each other, you're helping to cultivate the internet leaders who are your peers, and you can also do that with future internet leaders as well. So that's another aspect of it, which can be variable, both depending on what part of the society is acting and at the time. If there's anybody who wishes to ask a question live, you can also just raise your hand, and I believe the Zoom tool will then sort you so that you move to the top and I can see the hand. So if there's anybody who has live questions, that's welcome, in addition to those coming in through the Q&A tool or in chat.
And we do have another one in Q&A, Ted. I don't know if you can see it. Do you need me to read it?
I do see one that's just come in from Lauren that was put there. Actually, there are two, one from Albert Sherman and one from Lauren from the chat. So from Albert Sherman, what are some means of expansion of the Internet Society strategy, and how do you intend to collaborate with other global partners? I think the expansion of the Internet Society will take place in two ways. One, through the parts of the society which are not the staff organization, because those are the parts that can grow relatively independently of the resources of the staff organization. New chapters, for example, or new organizational members, or new work in the IETF, all of those can take place without any growth of the Internet Society staff organization. And as you saw in the set of things that we're discussing here, one aspect of it is a real change in how people understand the need to fund some of the programs of the Internet Society externally. We've historically had very fortunate access to a set of funds that came from PIR, but again, those are not really sufficient to the set of challenges that we have in front of us. And in some ways, they're limited in use because we have restrictions on how to behave as a charity that some members of this broader global community don't. And a great example of this is in lobbying. Because the Internet Society is a charity, it can't make direct lobbying of legislators on specific bills without causing problems for itself. So it has a very limited amount of that it can do. But it can write position papers, and it can educate others who can then turn around and use those position papers to lobby. And as long as it's not the Internet Society itself doing it, that's something where our ability to provide data to the broader community and to provide insight to the broader community can get increased impact through that action by our partner organizations or by individuals. I see one person live, and then there are two more in the chat. So I'm going to take the live one first, and then the two from the chat. Abdul?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm Abdul Fopa from Cameroon. I'm a chapter president of Cameroon. It is a great moment we see during these community days, and it was a pleasure for me to be live with you, and say thanks again for this great moment we share with all these people. It is a question, but what can we do as a chapter to help government to align their strategies in the same line with ISOC strategies. Yes, in the online strategy of ISOC, I saw Andrew make a presentation of the strategy, but it is always difficult for the civil society in our Africa to make a government who have also a last word in certain situation to help people have a benefit from this great strategy of ISOC. This is my contribution, and thanks again to all these people who contribute to organize this community day. It is a great moment. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the question. And let me just say, the first thing you can do is what you're doing now, is participate with your fellow members of the Internet Society in your chapter and with others. And working together, I think you can help advocate for the positions that ISOC has set out to help produce a secure and resilient internet in your region. And I believe that in addition, you can help educate what that means, right? So help people first realize the necessity for that resilience, and then help them understand what steps go into causing that resilience or that security to be present. And so I think those are things that any one of us can do outside of a staff organization. It's something that chapters can do. It's something I know IETF members and OMAC members are also very concerned with. So that's definitely one aspect of what you can do, is the education and advocacy don't need to be limited. And as we were saying before, the other thing you can do is help grow the reach of the Internet Society by help bringing people into your own chapter and bringing them up as potential leaders for the future. So I think that's another aspect. One of the questions that came in here, with the serious cost-cutting measures, all we are seeing is new staff and no new programs. Are we able to turn this around? Is it possible to fund advocacy and brand presence in the various countries? Can we do something the universities are not doing? And let me just say, I think there's reason for optimism here. I think it is a challenging time for the Internet Society because the euphoric understanding of the internet making everything better has really changed, and people see challenges from misinformation or other things in the coming through the internet in ways that they didn't really see them in the past. And I think one of the things we have to do as a society is really remind them of all the benefits they're getting. It's very much something where people begin to take for granted the ability of us to share with each other through a tool like this. It's become, especially through the pandemic and post-pandemic era, people just take it for granted that, of course, tools like Zoom or Google Meet or WebEx or other things are there to enable us to help create community dialogue, when in reality, the core capability there is really derived from aspects of how the internet is built and how the protocol development has worked that are very core to the Internet Society mission. So I think we can help remind them of the great number of benefits that the internet brings, and again, bring balance, right? There's been a lot of focus on bad things that have happened with using the internet as a medium without really seeing those in the broader context, because, it's like the old expression, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. And we have to remind them that, yes, it's important to remove that bad apple from the barrel, from the contact with the rest of them, but you don't throw out the idea of the internet because certain bad things may take place on it, because you have to see it in the broader context. So I do think that there's definitely a chance for us to take that advocacy forward, both in funded ways and in our own contributions as individual members of society. And we had somebody who had their hand up and dropped it. And it looks like we now have Kunle. Kunle, you're next.
All right, thank you very much. And first of all, let me appreciate the organizer of this program. And of course, I would like to say congratulations to the African community and of course the Middle East community for this great day that we are celebrating today. And of course, congratulations to our dear Victor from Africa. And of course, let me say his colleague from the Middle East as well. Having said that, I would just like to make 1 or 2 points on the issue at stake. That is what we are discussing now. So one thing that is very certain is the fact that every client has its own, what I'll call rules or culture, norms, and so on and so forth. So that is to say that we are different people with different culture, with different, norms and so on and so forth. And that in a way define the way we deal with issues, even though we may be talking about the same issues. Take, for example, okay, how do we grow the internet? So if you want to discuss how we are going to grow the internet, the way it's going to be grown in Europe, of course, it's going to be different from the way it's going to be grown in Africa. What I'm saying that is based on the fact that we are different people, like I earlier said. So I think that is one thing that we need to be conscious of when we're talking about, a strategy. And the way things work here in Africa is a bit, let me say, beautifully unique. And of course, we know how we can actually, follow with some issues. Take, for example, here in Africa, we see advocacy as one of our strongest tools, right? And that is based on the fact that you can discuss with people at different levels. It could be in a what we call community center. You can even have village meetings. You can have formal meetings, you can have semi-formal meetings, and so on and so forth. And we believe that if we have such gatherings, we can easily discuss issues. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in a formal gathering. Of course, we do discussions in formal gathering too, and I'll make some examples. Take, for example, in Nigeria, we've been able to achieve a lot, through some of our strategic programs, which we have been, doing. A very good example is the school. That is the Nigerian School on Internet Governance, which, of course, I have to give kudos for, pioneering it to my predecessor. And I'm glad he's on the call now. That is a person of Caleb Ogundele, who happens to be a board chairman. He actually pioneered the school. And of course, I learned the rope from him. By the way, I'm the current president of the Nigerian chapter, so to say. So I learned the rope from him, and we tried to continue from where he stopped. I discovered that the school has helped us so much. Why? Because we discovered that we're able to train a lot of, people, not only the youth, the women, and even the old people, and of course, the public servants, so to say, because we believe that if we want to discuss internet governance, it has to be multi-stakeholder based, as in everybody has to be involved. And if everybody is involved in the training, so I think the better for us, because at the end of the day, we're able to train everybody, and the ripple effect is this. I may not be in a particular place where such issues are being discussed, but somebody that has been trained in the Nigerian School on Internet Governance will be there. And based on the knowledge that the person has gained, the person will definitely be able to contribute to such a discourse, which I think it's a plus for us, And apart from that, we are also involved in a lot of partnership and collaboration. This is very strategic for us. Partnership helps us to reach, a greater audience in a way, because take, for example, if I plan my program for the year, right? And I just want to be appraised on that, and I want to focus on that. You would agree with me that I may have missed out some things, but along the line, we discovered that a lot of activities will come up, and of course, it is still going to be within the mission and vision of Internet Society. So based on that fact that, this is still part of our cardinal objective, we are able to key into that. We collaborate with them, and of course, for us, the more the merrier. And the ripple effect that at the end of the day, we're able to reach more people. So these are some of the strategies that are working for us here in Africa, talking from experience. And I may not be able to speak to other jurisdictions, but people from other jurisdictions will definitely be able to look at that. But one thing I want us to also examine very well is probably maybe the issue of funding, which I believe it's very important, because there is no way we can, implement or, organize a program without having the requisite fund. So this is one area that probably maybe we need to look at, but we've been trying our best, and I think, it can only get better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the intervention. And I just wanted to go back to something you said at the very beginning of your intervention, which is obviously different places have different norms, and there are different systems in place in those, and we have to work through those with an understanding of what the local conditions are and the local methods are. And I think I didn't get the background up in time of the Think Globally, Act Locally that I think many people have. But I think that's something that is very important for us to keep in mind as we go through the next step in the process of taking these global goals and global strategies and turning them into action plans. We need to understand that the action plans in different regions may have different implementations because of exactly those different norms you mentioned. There's a related question in the chat from Jacques Bakev from ISAC LB. And my colleague Brian Haberman has answered that in the chat by saying that a global strategy may not encompass all the challenges being encountered in all parts of the world. The board discussed the larger global challenges, since that's the ISAC focus as a whole. And the board would encourage chapters to develop their own strategy that focuses on those challenges that they see in their area. And obviously, in addition to their own strategy, if there are particular methods, several people in the chat have focused on the ripple effect, for example, that you mentioned. That's obviously something which may be very effective in some parts of the set of interchanges we need to have. There's another one that came in through the Q&A, and after that, Mutegi, I will get to you. This one is in French. Bonjour, Adama Oudrago, président du chapitre de Burkina Faso. Comment est-ce qu'on peut travailler ensemble pour éviter les coupures, restrictions Internet dans nos pays à chaque crise politique ou manifestation? And I'm going to give a shot at translating that. I'm sure the translators are doing a better job. How can we work together to avoid the cuts to the internet or restrictions to the internet in our countries when there is when each political crisis or is manifestation in English? It's the same in Portuguese, manifestação. Protest? Yeah, protest. So I think the answer to that is first education. So the stuff that is going on in the Pulse tool is a very important part of that, because we try and show people the impact of a particular shutdown, and that's been very helpful in many cases. But it's also an advocacy question, and I think powerful advocacy is important here to make sure that there are advocates within the governments or advocates within the organs of state that are making these decisions that help see and understand what the impact of that is, so that they're not done when they're disproportionate. And Mutegi was in the, there you are, you're next. Mutageki, excuse me, beg your pardon.
Thank you so much, Ted. My name is Cliff for the record. And I want to thank the Internet Society for giving me the opportunity to lead and learn. I have the years taken up different leadership positions within the Internet Society, our Ugandan chapter. But then also I have been given the opportunity to learn, especially from the ISOC Learn platform. I don't have before taking up the different ISOC Learn courses, I never had any background in any of the fields in networking. I never had any experience in a couple of technical courses that I have done on the ISOC Learn platform. And because of that, I've gotten myself acquainted on how the internet works and how we can make it better. But then furthermore on improving my leadership on and being able to do certain things to strengthen the internet. And I really want to encourage or implore us, to keep doing that, and then also to see that we have more people to learn on how the internet works, on how to grow the internet. So basically, I just wanted to share a vote of thanks to ISOC for that.
Thank you very much, Takeki. It looks like Caleb would like to respond.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mutugeki. And these are some of the good testimonies that we like to hear, some of the good things that ISOC is doing, and it's all about the strategy that has been formed from chapter consultation, and then it gets to all of you at the local community, and then you're able to implement it. More importantly, the testimony that you've shared today, that you've been able to improve yourself and to see how it flows down to your local community, are some of the stories we like to hear. And these are things that we encourage you to continue to share with the entire community, and we continue to celebrate some of these good things coming out from your community. Thank you very much for your service and volunteer spirit to the community, and we hope to see you at the top.
Thank you very much, Caleb. I'll also thank Charles, who put a link down in the chat for the Internet Society Learning offer that was just mentioned, for those who may not be familiar with it. The next person is Guy Lusanga. Guy? I can't.
Don't forget to unmute.
We can't hear you yet.
Membre de l'ISOC depuis 2007. Je suis en République démocratique du Congo. Je souligne beaucoup de choses concernant la gouvernance de l'Internet, en tenant compte de l'échauffement climatique, surtout dans les milieux ruraux, où l'Internet pose problème. C'est pour cela que je souhaiterais participer à cette solution
We'll call on you, but it's Guy's moment, please.
Tous ces niveaux de l'Internet. Je vous remercie pour votre attention et votre studio que nous sommes en train de développer sur l'Internet, qui est un avancement total. Merci pour ce que vous remercie.
I think.
Okay.
Guy
So
Guy
thank you
was
very much
just sharing
for that
a
intervention.
comment.
And
Yes.
let me apologize, because I think I didn't understand that the translator was speaking for him, and I thought the translator was somebody else trying to talk over him. So I got a little confused there. My apologies. I'm so used to listening in the native language, it surprised me. So let me ask a follow-up question, given that I missed some of the original parts, based on my misunderstanding. Is there a particular part of the internet governance landscape that you feel is related to the set of challenges that were posed that you would like to highlight for future work.
I think Guy is having a technical issue. Guy, est-ce que tu as écouté la question de l'interprète?
Guy, si c'est possible de répéter la question, ce sera bon.
Oui, oui, Guy, Ted demandait quelle partie de...
Oui, je disais,
OK.
je
I believe
suis
you had
très ravi par rapport au développé pour l'avancement de l'Internet. Ma question était celle-ci. Il y a des problèmes, j'ai souligné beaucoup de problèmes sur la gouvernance de l'Internet face au réchauffement climatique, surtout dans les milieux ruraux, où l'Internet pose beaucoup de problèmes. Ouais, ce sont des milieux où nous utilisons beaucoup de réseaux grâce aux opérateurs de téléphonie mobile, où il y a maintenant l'accès à l'Internet. Face à tous ces défis-là, nous devons travailler sur ça à cause pour relever les défis, où il n'y a pas de problème, où il y a les problèmes de l'Internet au niveau rural. Donc, ce que je vais vous demander par rapport à tout ça, ce sont mes questions. Merci.
Thank you very much. And I think the board and all of ISOC agrees with you that there is no single set of needs that even though we are presenting a global strategy, that there are definitely cases where context makes one part of the strategy much more urgent. Connecting the unconnected may be an urgent part of the strategy in one area, in a rural area, where in the urban area, it may be more about ensuring that the advocacy with the government makes them aware of the damage that's done when the internet is withdrawn. So there are definitely changes that apply to different regions or different parts of a single country, depending on the specific conditions. Thank you very much. We are actually at time. I wanted to finish out by thanking all of you for taking the time to participate both in the broader community day here. Certainly what I saw of it was very impactful, and I'm very, very happy for all of the interventions that were made there. But especially in this particular session where we could allow the board members who are present to hear directly from you what your concerns are, both with the strategy and more generally. We'll continue to hold these sessions as we move forward, and as the action plans are set, each of the action plans will then go through a process of being disclosed to the community and then evaluated at the end of each one of them so that we have lessons learned and can continually improve. So thank you very much to each of you for your presence today, and we look forward to continuing to work together on the mission of the Internet Society to make the internet for everyone. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ted. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone, for joining, for staying for these sessions. I won't add much after Ted, so just another thank you, and let's continue to work for the internet for everyone. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.